All right, let's give a round of applause for poetry. Thank you very much. That water back there is probably something I'll use soon. It's October, but it still feels a little bit like August. It's wonderful, wonderful. So, my name is Dimitri Reyes. I'm the Marketing and Communications Director at CavanKerry Press. We're a publishing house that's been in the state of New Jersey for the past 20 years, and we specialize in poetry and memoir that explores the emotional and psychological landscapes of everyday life. Along with the publishing efforts that we do, we're also a 501c3 nonprofit, so we work with many, many different organizations and programs, and we also have something called a CavanKerry Press and Friends series where we reach out to the wider community in New Jersey and beyond to highlight voices that aren't published by us but deserve publication. Let's give a round of applause for poetry again. So here you'll hear a series of individuals. You'll hear two that are not by CavanKerry Press and one who will be main headlining the last part, Marina Carreira, which her book just came out, is going to come out on Monday. Let's give a round of applause for that. All right. First, we're going to have Basia Wilson, who is a poet, a Push Card Prize nominee, and a finalist for the 2022 Banyan Poetry Prize. Her poetry and previews have appeared in Tribes Magazine, Philadelphia Stories, Voicemail Poems, Bedfellows, Platform Review, Cider Press Review, Barrel House, and The Rumpus. She walks, wonders, and writes in South Jersey. Everyone, please welcome Basia Wilson.
This one's still on. Thank you all for coming to the book festival, and thank you for hanging out at the Poetry Tent. And thanks Dimitri and CavanKerry Press for inviting me to read. Much of our engagement with the natural world tends to start and end with our plants, our house plants in particular, our dogs, or cats, or pets at home. But I'm a firm believer that our engagement with the living world can really be extended far beyond that if we just pay enough attention, and that there are a lot of living beings who are worthy of our care and our presence and our reverence even. And so my poems that I'm going to read today speak directly to that, and they also speak directly to the creatures that they are about. And that first creature is a Polyphemus moth. These are moths that are about this big, they're really large. And they're named Polyphemus after the mythological Cyclops, who Odysseus tricks and stabs on his way home after the Trojan War. And they are members of a family of moths called Saturnidae. And these moths, like the Polyphemus moth, they have these features on their wings that are called eye spots because they look like eyes. So hence the name Polyphemus moth after the Cyclops. And the person who was first to scientifically observe and identify the family of Saturnidae believed that the rings around the eye spots looked reminiscent of Saturn, the rings of Saturn, hence the name Saturnidae. And so the caterpillars of Polyphemus moths, they feed on birches, oaks, elms, beeches, and all kinds of other trees. But once they become adult moths, they don't have the appendages to eat or drink, and so they live very, very short lives, usually less than a week as a moth. And despite that short lifespan, they come out of their cocoon just ready to go, knowing exactly who they are and what they need to do, and this poem is about them. Tonight on Earth. I know better than to say you've been waiting for me. I only happened upon you. On the walk back to intuition, feeling called, my feet answer the lake, lined with pin oaks, where you hang about the branches, Polyphemus moth in profile, palm-sized, heart-shaped, undersides brushed with taupe, blush, and dusk. Newly alive, cocoon unclasped, you are loosed to the world and the weather of pheromones, newly alert to unseen currents, scented the beckoning. For weeks you made a living off leaves. Now, furred Saturnid, you know you're free to shirk gravity and pursue your greatest work. To clasp and affix your being onto another, become creative. Hungerless, thirstless, you may sail miles for this with fewer than 5 moons left to live. brief seeker of sex, quercus, vetula, salix. And this, your molecular alchemy, ends and begins again. Never mind my species saddling yours with myth and planet. Faithfully you intuit your only vocation. Peering into your life like peeking into windows. Pray my living be as steadfast. So the second creature who appears in my second poem is the ghost pipe plant. These are uncommonly seen. They have a very uncommon lifestyle. These plants don't do any photosynthesis at all, so they don't have any green coloring, they don't have any chlorophyll, and they're entirely white. So trees and fungi have a often collaborative relationship where the trees can give to the fungi the nutrients that they make through photosynthesis, and the fungi have these fruit-like structures called hyphae at the ends of the fungus, and they can use that to burrow deep into the soil and access nutrients that tree roots can't reach on their own. And so the ghost pipe comes in by capitalizing on this relationship, and it parasitizes the fungi, and it will take the nutrients that the fungi has gotten from the trees to sustain itself. And so this poem is dedicated to the ingenuity of the ghost pipe. Ghost Pipe Ode. After many millions of miles, the starlight that is the sun arrives untranslated at your shady station on the forest floor. Botanic sidestepper, evader of greenness, you require interpreters who learn to speak with those verdant ones, who are always speaking with the sun. Entwine your meager roots with fungal threads, entwined with the mighty roots of trees, trees whose leaves stir starlight into sustenance, sending it down branches, down trunks, down the ground floor, and into the cellar that is soil, where you selfishly help yourself to what fungi renders readable to you. This echoes ocean happenings, where starlight sustains plankton, epipelagic beings, miniature and many, who sustain ever deeper others, sinking down dark residential depths as sea snow and bone. Here you are, bone white ghost pipe, hue cleaner than moonlight. Meeting you mid-bud, my fingers expected a whisper's weight, susceptible to gusts and even breezes, susceptible to the lightest touch. But your downcast buds, heavy as bells, don't easily budge. You face the earth from which you emerged, stand partial to the weight of bees who shop your nectaries. Their successful visits will lift your pale chins proudly, and you will face finally whatever starlight steals through the canopy, looking nearly defiant, triumphant, as you stir what you stole into hundreds of seeds. Thank you.
Let's give another round for Basia. That was beautiful work there. Me and Basia talk plants, fungi, trees. That's my plant friend. The next person we have is Lennox Warner from Montserrat, West Indies, and settled in South Jersey by way of Brooklyn in 1970 to pursue a career in the casino industry. Along the way, Lennox attended art schools in South Jersey, New York City, and Philadelphia, respectively, at the Art Student League of New York and Fleisher Art Memorial, Philadelphia. Lennox has exhibited widely in South Jersey, Philadelphia, and New York City, and is presently at the Perkins Art Center in Collingswood. Let me get a round of applause for Perkins Center. Beautiful. In 2020, he published his first book of poems titled Mother's Milk, which almost sold out today, and his second poetry collection, My Poetic Demons, released in August of 2025. It's still hot. If you touch it, it burns you. Lennox's goals are to continue creating art, writing, and reading poetry that highlights his Windrush Caribbean experiences and the beautiful, rough and tumble world around us. Ladies and gentlemen, Lennox Warner.
so happy to be here in this beautiful town of Collingswood, New Jersey. The breeze of dawn has its secrets to tell. Tell me your secret, oh breeze of dawn. Why are you here far from this land? Oh breeze of dawn, will you black out the lights on your mysterious travels across the land? Will you stay calm for a while, or will you turn on a mighty wind and blow away the shadows? Please stay for a while. You are a breath of fresh air in my topsy-turvy life. Oh breeze of dawn, mighty breeze of dawn. Thank you. Let me just say this. I'm a visual artist, and I'm a mixed media artist. And one of the reasons why I'm a mixed media artist is because I cannot really, I don't know what's the word, I just can't stick to one thing, so I keep moving around. I'm basically a sculptor. That's my main interest. And like as Mr. Demetrius said, I've studied all at the Art Student League in New York and Fleisher Memorial and other ateliers, reading arts. I residence at Reading Arts in the Glass program back in 2009. So my artwork is not singularly attached to a painter or a sculptor. So basically I try to translate my art and my poetry into my background, which is, I am from a small island. I'm small. I'm from an island in the Caribbean. I'm not smaller than anybody else. Right? I'm big as anybody else, right? I'm from the island of Montserrat. Montserrat, Antigua, and St. Kitts, they're three basically connected islands, right, close to each other. My father and my grandfather were both policemen in the colonial force, I guess, and they traveled around the Caribbean and doing their police work back then. Back around the turn of the century, my grandfather, George Warner, and two of his brothers were recruited to go to Panama Canal to work on the Panama Canal. Back in those days, they had schooners, sailboats, right? They didn't really have engine power back then around the turn of the century. They had them, but it was like probably a steam engine or something. Anyhow, their boat capsized, and there was rescue ships because it's a well-traveled route. Some was going east and some was going west. So the ship that was going west, one of them took my grandfather back to, I believe it was Antigua, where he's actually from St. Kitts, but Antigua. And but the other two brothers went to Trinidad. They never came back. The two brothers never came back to Trinidad, but we know that they're there with their extended families. My father became a policeman after my grandfather in Antigua, and he was stationed in Montserrat. That's where the Montserrat connection came in. He met my beautiful mother, got married to her at 16, no less. So he actually had my mother's father, my grandfather actually went over to Antigua to meet his father to give him permission to get married to her. So subsequently to that, they got married, and there's four of us. Around 1955, they had the Windrush generation. The Windrush generation was basically around after the Second World War. There was a lot of English soldiers who were supposed to come back to England, but they had enough of England and they're fighting, and they decided to go to Australia and South Africa. Then most of them were actually recruited to go there. And so there was a great labor shortage in England. Long story short, they started recruiting, the English government started recruiting people in the Caribbean to come to England to work. One of the ships the first ship that brought that generation to England was called the Windrush. And it was actually a four-fitted Italian liner, because when Italy lost the war to Britain, they had to give up these ships to Britain. It was renamed the Windrush, and that generation went up, which was my father's generation. They dragged us up there, we had to go. And now the Windrush generation is me. I'm part of the Windrush generation. So that's my part of my background. I'm telling you this now because get ready to read my memoir because I'm starting to do my work on it. Okay? All right. Do I have much time?
You got 1 minute? I'm just kidding. You're
I don't take any notes. I just hold my hand. Walk with me. The trail will be long. Walk with me. The night will be dark and lonesome. For gloom will come before the sun sets. Walk with me. The sun will rise, and we shall see the coming dawn. Walk with me. I shall see the coming dawn. The sun will rise, and we shall see the coming dawn. Walk with me before the passing of this indigo night. Thank you. Thank you. I might skip a couple of sections of this because it's rather long. It's called Caregiver's Remorse. If anybody, well, everybody has to go through this. At some point in time catches up with us, and we have to, move on, and we have to help our relatives and friends in their passage. And one of the most missing part of the equation is the caregiver. The caregiver is the person who helps, comforts a person, washes them, cleans them, and eventually, do what they have to do. Caregiver's remorse. Another awful, miserable, sleepless night. Another painful jab of unbearable pain has filled the darkened room. The great candles flickered off and on, casting an eerie shadow and eerie glow around the room. The doctor said, "Go home. You can go home now. We have done all we can do for you. You can go home now. Your caregiver will take care of you from now on. We have done all that we can do for you. Your caregiver will take care of you from now on. Your caregiver will bathe you, will wash you, will wipe your head, will comfort you and tuck you into your bed. Please, please, do not punch, kick, spit, fall out of the bed, or fight me. I am your caregiver. I am here for you, to comfort you in your moments of need." A screeching owl passed outside silently, watching the suffering in the caregiver's eyes. She too long felt pain going through this unnerving process. Struggling, dementia, Alzheimer's, and senility has set in, recognizing no one, caring for nothing but the simple survival. Rest now. You need your rest. It will be good for you to rest some more. A continent away, an anguished uncle and aunt, a sister, a friend prayed for him and his caregiver. A visiting nurse came by to check on her patient. The cat meowed loudly in the adjoining room. The dog Buller barked loudly. Buller is an old pit bull, missing most of his teeth, has cataract, ingrown nails, has arthritis in his front leg. Was young and strong in his youth. He challenged and fought any dog that stood in his way. Now he's a humble old soul that just wants to be with his master and lay on his couch all day. Buller continued to bark loudly. The patient turned over to see who was causing all that noise. He said, "Oh, it's you. I don't need a nurse. I don't need your help. I've been helping myself all my life. I don't need your help now. Go away." Not perturbed, the caregiver, sobbing, went about the task at hand, caring, cleaning, walking the dog, feeding the cats, brushing the hair. Pain and anguish overcame the patient and brought tears to the caregiver's eyes. No remorse, no remorse. I have no remorse. I did the best I could, cleaning, scrubbing, helping. You on your way.
You keep going if you want, man.
I got another one.
Yeah. You got time. I say 2 more.
Okay. Whoever is calling me, I don't owe you any money. Please stop. All right. Okay, we're gonna go. That was those poems are in my book, Mother's Milk. Mother's Milk is not really related to Mother's Milk. Actually, the painting on the front, the graphic on the front is actually my painting, and it's supposed to represent the breast, but they turn the other way. And I named this poem, this painting, Mother's Milk. And as it being the cover of my book, I named the book Mother's Milk. So if you buy this book, you won't find Mother's Milk poem in the book. So. Now, the Poetic Demons now, this is also one of my paintings. And the Poetic Demon is a poem in my book, so I'll attempt to read that. Thank you. This poem is related to the folk tales that we have in the Caribbean. They're scary. They're usually back in the 50s, 60s, and probably most of the 70s. The country part of Antigua and Montserrat were not electrified, so they actually had oil lamps, and they had outdoor cooking and stuff, wood and fire and stuff. But at the end of the evening, people would gather around the fire and tell stories. And actually, it was the grown-ups who told it, actually our grandmothers. And they were generally called Nancy stories, which was like made-up stories really, but they were like real scary. So the name of this poem is called My Poetic Demons, which is the name of the book. Jumpy dancers, you'll see them at the airports and things, like when you go into the Caribbean, and they're like festival dances and things. But they have a mysterious side to them. So, jumpy dancers marching one behind the other, drums pounding from deep within the forested mountains. Up your men conjuring up spirits from another dimension to scare children in their dream with Nancy stories of long ago forgotten times of dreaded creatures. Many of these creatures are now forgotten. There was One-Eyed Jack, a faceless man, a man with no mouth, a man with no teeth, a man with 6 eyes, 3 on the left side of his head, 3 on the right side of his head. A tall man with no legs who floated above the ground, a man with a bloody cutlass in his hand. They made no sound or noise because they were from another dimension. And of course, it was One-Eyed Jack who played the banjo to entertain the gathering as they sat in front of the embers of the wood fire. Yes, Granny told stories like this to us on this warm tropical island paradise of Montserrat, where I'm from. Thank you. This is like a little sinister poem here. It's called Dead End Street. Okay, this is very urban, Dead End Street. Every turn I turn is onto a dead end street. I look up, I look down, only to see a dead end street. I travel through mountains, valleys, towns, ministries, only to find dead end streets. The red hot sun poured onto my head, sweat glistened from my cheeks onto my tongue, leading me to a new dead end street. I crossed the street into countless silhouettes of dead end streets. Is my life to be on endless dead end streets, far from the main streets of love and care? Why must I follow the crowd to another dead end street? It is dark at the end of the street. Street gangs always ended up on dead end streets. Dead end street always smell of old pee. Sorry about that. The stench of pee is ever present on dead end street. Every turn I turn once again lead onto a dead end. Go west, young man. Turned into a dead-end street. Single file out the door, turned onto a dead-end street. Still, as a cock crowed in the early dawn, a bright new sun is shining its new light into a darkened street. Further up the street is wide open. Opportunities abound, children are playing. Laughter and joy is plentiful on this street. There is a newfound happiness on this new street, on this joyful day. Thank you, folks. Thank you, I enjoyed this, folks. And once again, my book is actually on Amazon. I have a few copies out there, so please enjoy. That's my victory dance, folks.
Hi, Mary Beth.
Hey!
One more round of applause for Lennox Warner. Lennox will be at the CavanKerry press table. You can buy his books, you can get his book signed. Marina Carreira, they, is a Luso-American poet and artist from Newark, New Jersey, a Pushcart Prize nominee and 2024 Luso-American Fellow in the Disquiet Literary Program. Carreira is the author of Dead Things and Where to Put Them, CavanKerry, October 2025, Del Casada, Bottle Cat Press, 2023, Tantu Tantu, CavanKerry Press 2022, Save the Bathwater, Get Fresh Books 2018, and I Sing to That Bird Knowing It Won't Sing Back, Finishing Line Press 2017. She has exhibited her art in the Newark Museum, Morris Museum, Art Front Galleries, Monmouth University Center for the Arts, and others. Carreira works in higher education and teaches women and gender studies at Kean University. She lives with her girls, daughters, and pups in Union, New Jersey. Everyone, please welcome Marina Carreira.
Can we just give it up again for Basia and Lennox? And Basia, Kat Kremens said to say hi and give you a big hug, so I'm gonna meet you later. Thank you for everyone that's here. Thank you to CavanKerry. My name is Marina Carreira. I am originally from Newark, New Jersey. I am the daughter of immigrants from Portugal, and I write a lot about what that looks like. This book that I'm reading from was written during the pandemic, which seemed like the most awful thing to happen to us. But here we are. So this one's called Ode to the Deer on the Side of the Road as America. Your ears still twitched 2 minutes after the crash, after someone who thought himself superior sped maniacally down a one-way in the dark. How could they have known you'd be there? He who sees himself center of the universe, how could he know you belong to this earth too? That this space is yours as much as his or mine, and really, weren't you here first? Isn't this documented biblically, historically, scientifically? By the time we got to you, it was too late. Despite the small pulse from your body, I knew death had come with its heavy boots and bag. Blood poured from your mouth, a tiny creek trickling back to its source. Haplessly, we called the police as if they would be of any use. The officer shrugged, said he'd call for your removal, insisted you never had a chance given where you wandered, as if the fur and field behind you weren't home, as if your freedom wasn't as precious as his. So I write a lot of moon poems. I don't know, I think that's what poets do. So I'm gonna read just 2 or 3 moon poems, and they sort of touch on different subjects. This one's called Flower Moon. Astrologers say this moon in Scorpio is where we welcome the death of an old life, an old identity, old ways of being. I could use a new life, a new conscious. This one feels fractured, spills memories like guts in a bald of Vinu deluge. This one is a broken, sequined diary. This life's been a one-way trek up Misery Mountain, toes curled at the edge. I don't even know what I mean anymore, just that I never imagined the end to look like this. Breakfast at 9, homeschooling the kids from 10:30 to 12:30, then lunch, remote work and cleaning in between. By dinner, I'm clogged dry with coffee and emails, lists of flowers I'll plant and herbs I'll forget to take. I blame my follies on this flower moon and not the woman breaking my heart. I sit in my tub and fill it with tears until I am under everything warm and wavy, far from the new normal. Before bed, I'm a rabbit baring her teeth at the goddess who swallowed my dreams and left an egg in their place. She'll mistake this for a smile, like everyone else. Wolf Moon. I'm the one howling at you tonight, howling in sorrow and angst, in vain and solidarity with all other mad women cooped up for too long in their houses, in their tired bodies, in their half-lit, half-the-time heads. Snapping at the forced air, snarling every time someone asks me about dinner. I've never been more wild in domesticity, baring my teeth at boredom, scratching at walls for release. Oh, to be a cur in the dark embrace of woods, to run miles and miles away from sound and screen, to crown myself with violets after praying, bloody mouth a headlight in the wind. Blame it on the patriarchy, blame it on the pandemic, blame it on the moon, full and spreading herself rapidly over us as I watch at the window. For fuck's sake, can't women and wolves do that too? Live fat and free and feral without having to die trying. This one's called Dead Things and Where to Put Them, which is the title of my book. So much to bury. So much lifelessness carried in the pit of your belly, the bulge of your back, the calluses of your feet. The bird that flew into the window weeks before your firstborn wailed into the world. The midnight between the dark pines and my waist and his hands. The white currant bushes dried up by the fires. Yellow notebooks and fallen teeth. The seahorses scooped out of the Atlantic, the kits in the crow's mouth, the kittens my grandfathers tossed into a bag and threw behind the shed, the onion-domed house, the blue and white house, the chicken coop, your rosary, your bata, your body. Dead things, and where to put them if not in the ground, the damp earth where all things return, right next to the graves of my matriarchs whose homes are now rubble along the roads I walked in the summers of my youth, shielding my child eyes from the unbearable light of dusk. This one's called Litany for Surviving, and it's after one of my heroes, Audre Lorde. The glimmering eye of a doe greeting the morning with a yawn reminds me of the first time I went fishing. I was 11, it was a Wednesday in the village. Elizabeth, Pedro, and I took our jars to the creek, confident we'd soon be proud owners of our very own tadpoles. Before plunging my hand in, I marveled at the sun over the water's surface, a spread of crushed diamonds, a fortress we fisted through for baby frogs. I haven't fished since, haven't played by a body of water in years. I take long baths to escape the dry heat of quarantine, the invisible fog of virus, the torrential national tyranny, the impending global genocide. What if we all went fishing by a creek, or watched deer make their way across it, praise the audacity of living? What a privilege it is to own this imagination, this safe white skin. How dare I think of summer, streams, animals, fauna, when so many have yet to know freedom of such things? When the only thing glimmering is a black screen with breaking news. Good God, how dare we survive ourselves, and how this? So I have have two more, and thank you for being here. This is called Buck Moon. We are halfway through summer, the nights growing inch by inch, the hibiscus bloomed. Deer crossed Liberty Hall to Orsino Park, antlers hardening around fur, a cell phone shining in the distance. I sit on my stoop, think about work, parties, fast cars, drugs of youth I no longer long for. I'm a dream addict now, high off gouache and pastel and poems by Mathilde Campillo. I'm an ant chirping around the compost of childhood, fertile earth for my city come farm girl fantasies. My own fawns know this glory, this forming bony and furious, the aftermath of survival. I plan to die by living, and maybe alone, but by the creek, facing the orange grove and creek. And the last one, this is dedicated to my grandmother who passed away during the pandemic. It's called, Avó is Portuguese for grandmother. And it's called Elegy for Maria Vicente Meirelles Ribeiro. Avó waited for death like a cat at the window. Sat in her green armchair for 10 years asking Jesus to take her back where her father roamed the fields on horses, where she'd sit with dogs and chickens and rabbits under a tree. "Que estou a fazer aqui? What am I doing here?" she'd bark, after we assured her she was worth more to us alive. Almost a century of cleaning, mending, cooking, mothering, grandmothering, of holding books without knowing a word of them. Death is the stuff dreams are made of for women who fit all their joy in a thimble. She sacrificed more than she cared to, swallowed birds whole to keep a song inside. No one can blame her for finally letting go, letting her stomach fill with ocean water, the last beating of her heart to the rooster's morning crow. It will be all our time, sometime, but oh, the time she loved life, when dinner was plenty and good and we'd sit around full and tell her stories of the stupid shit we've done, and she'd laugh so whole and wide, the sun would rise over her tongue. That old yellow star blossomed against her teeth. Thank you.
Marina Carreira, everyone. Let's give it up for Marina Carreira. Let's give it up for Lennox Warner. Let's give it up for Basia Wilson. This was CavanKerry Press's portion of the reading. We are the Burgundy Table at the beginning. We're a local press based out of Fort Lee. We've been here for 20 years, specializing in poetry and memoir that explores the emotional and psychological landscapes of everyday life. Most of our books are $13 or $15 today, and you get a free book from the Magic Book Bag with purchase. So come talk to us. If you need to purchase something electronically, you'll have to wait until after Martin's over, because my phone, that is also the video camera, is also the money swiping machine thing. So you'll have to wait a bit, but I do take cash. And then, if you all like what you're hearing, after Martin, I'm going up at 3:10, so you can stick around, you can hear me too. All right, round of applause for poetry.